good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this exciting talk on the future of the Metaverse. Our title today is "The Metaverse is Here, Where Are You?" So I'd like to introduce each of my esteemed panelists one by one so you get a sense on who we've got here today. Firstly, we have Jane Henderson, the Chairman of Beauty and Wellness at Mintel. She's also Executive Board Member of CEW. Round of applause for Jane, please. Hi, Jane. We also have Robin Raskin, the founder of the Virtual Events Group. Welcome, Robin. We also have Sylvain Deltaille, Senior Vice President of Development for Europe at Perfect Corp. Hi, Sylvain. And we also finally have Valerie Vacante, Director of Strategy, Product, Experience and Innovation at Merkle. So a big round of applause to all my panelists. Now, as you all may be fairly familiar, the concept and the metaverse itself is a very visual, immersive and aesthetic platform. So it would be a shame for us today to not get a sense on what this looks and feels like. So we've got a very short 2-minute video that I'd like you to all sit back, enjoy and immerse yourself in what the metaverse can look like. Gives you a better sense on what we're here to talk about today. As you can see from that video, it's colorful, it's dynamic, and it's very, very broad and diverse, the potential. We wanted to get a little bit of a temperature check on all of you today, just to see where you're at with interaction on the metaverse from a business and a beauty standpoint. So if I could just get a show of hands from you all for anybody who is working with perhaps virtual try-on technology. Okay. Anybody working with NFTs or interested in NFTs? Okay. And what about avatars? Have any of you created your own avatar or perhaps a business profile avatar? Okay. And I think perhaps the biggest question that all of you might have, and the important one that we're hoping to address today, is actually what is the metaverse? You know, this is a new space, it's evolving quickly, and hopefully we'll be able to unpick that today with our expert panel. So I wanted to really kick things off and this discussion off with trying to see what the metaverse actually looks like today. And Robin, I'd like to start with you, you know, as an expert onlooker, all things beauty tech. How would you describe the metaverse in 2022?
So it's supposed to be this one large world where you can interoperate, and so you can buy a dress in one metaverse and take it with you to the next one. That's not happening yet. Right now, it looks like a bunch of nation states. That's the only thing I can think of. So you've got a Decentraland, and you've got a Sandbox, and you've got Roblox, and you've got Fortnite, and you've got companies making their own metaverses using Unreal Engine, but they're not connected yet. And they tend to use currencies that are either in their own world. Decentraland uses something called mana. Sandbox uses its own currency. So it's very fragmented, but the things they all have in common are immersiveness, a blockchain structure underneath in its purest form so that there's a record of every transaction, a proof that you own the thing that you bought in the metaverse and that travels with you. And those, sometimes VR, sometimes not VR, sometimes AR, sometimes not AR. So there are many different experiments going on right now, but the commonalities are starting to come forward.
And Sylvan, at Perfect Corp, would you agree with that sort of current fragmentation that we're seeing?
Yes, it's a very, very beginning of what could become something very huge, but definitely it's very fragmented. Everyone is trying its own version, but we start to see that everything goes in the same direction, and it's all about virtuality, things that do not exist in real, but exist in digital. And that's about the metaverse. It could be something you can wear, like makeup or eyewear or shoes. It could be your own avatar, the representation of yourself, moving in a purely digital world, going into stores and so on and so forth. So everything starts, and we assume that in the coming years, everything will come together so that we can have a complete experience for people.
Now, Valerie, one thing Merkel's very focused on is this consumer experience within this virtual world. Do you think that that could be the thread that brings the metaverse universes all together, perhaps?
Well, I think actually, before I jump into that, I wanted to build on what Robin and Sylvan said. You know, actually, you know, I know the name of our talk here today is "The Metaverse is Here. Where are you?" It should probably be called "The Metaverse is on its way," right? because as Robin said, you know, there are all these different fragments. It is very much of what the internet felt like back in sort of 1994, 95. You know, that was amazing for us, a big tech moment. I feel like we're in that same moment now. And what it means really for Merkel, because we are focused on customer experience, we put the customer in first in front of everything. So something we pride ourselves on, it's not about the tech first or being in this platform or that platform. It's, hey, what's going to be the most important experience for the customer, and then shape those experiences around that. So.
Yeah. And Jane, your work at Mintel, you know, looking extensively at the trends and drivers behind many, many industries. Can you give us a sense on how interested and engaged beauty consumers currently are in what the metaverse has to offer?
Absolutely. Well, we've seen that beauty consumers are very interested in anything digital, and obviously after the pandemic, a lot of brands have gone online and put a huge amount of effort engaging the consumers online. So this can only really grow, and as many brands have seen their profits increase by getting direct gross margin, they're loving it and wanting to, no disrespect to any retailers in the room, they're enjoying the benefits of that, and also the benefits of really engaging with their own community and building their communities. So I can see this has, endless opportunities really for brands.
Yeah. And what is it for consumers, the drivers behind wanting to engage with these virtual technologies? What are they getting out of it?
Well, we can talk a little bit more about the consumers. Do you want me to go through some of the consumer groups?
Yeah, that would be good.
So, at Mintel, we've got around 10 major consumer groups, because we can't look at consumers as just one mass. We've got to split them down. So, I've got a couple of notes actually here on some of that I prepared earlier on consumers. So, there's different consumer groups, and I think we've really highlighted about 6 that really play into this, and who'll be excited. And first one I think we would call the ultimate beauty, and they're very curious people, maybe more celeb focused, so they'll be wanting to know what celebs are doing. So anything that brands can do to bring people onto the metaverse and onto their sites with perhaps using celebrities or some sort of incentive. Ultimate Beauty's really, they'll spend a big proportion of their income on beauty, and they're not really that price sensitive as well. So then you've got the beauty activist, who's more about values and purposes. And, if there's something there, they can connect with their community around their values or express their opinion. Again, that would be a motivator. Holistic beauty, more on the eco-friendly side. And then the lost and found, who is, as the name suggests, they're kind of lost and found. They're more interested in the ingredients and digging much deeper into, what that product might do for them. And then, of course, in the Far East, we've got one called the Beauty Gamer. Name gives it away. And they might be buying McDonald's while they're online, which you were talking to us about, Robin. And they also might be buying products for their avatar and also for themselves. So that's an interesting one. And then another one, the last one, is the beauty climber, who tends to kind of follow trends and do what everyone else is doing. So these are some of the profiles that we look at. And these are available on mintel.com free anyway, so you can have a look at them. And it's just really interesting to see how that might play out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Robin, what do you think of those consumer groups?
So I don't know how many of the audience happen to go to Fashion Week in Decentraland. So I went, and of course I went for free. So you wear like the 5 things that are free that you can choose from. And as soon as I got there, I felt terribly underdressed. So I had to go back out and buy myself wings and halos and all the things that people buy. And it turned out not to be easy. You've got to set up a digital wallet. And in my case, it was a MetaMask. Then your digital wallet's empty, so you have to go buy Ethereum. You go to buy Ethereum at one of the crypto exchanges, and you find out, I just wanted $15 worth of Ethereum, but you pay fees, the gas fees and third-party fees, and by the time I was done, my $15 was $45, but I did get some wings and a halo, and I felt like I got right in, and it is fascinating to see. And the only other thought I'd leave you, there is a very serious side to this metaverse also. Entire cities and governments are setting up shop in the metaverse. Seoul, Korea, Singapore, so that you go to renew your driver's license, you go to settle a dispute in court, you want to go to a town hall meeting, you send your avatar. And the other thing I'll say is that for the beauty and fashion industry, you can actually charge more, and I think Sylvan knows this better than anybody. You can buy a tube of real lipstick for $10. Well, that virtual lipstick is going to be $40. And it's amazing the hunger people will pay for designer sneakers, not for themselves, but for their avatars. It's mind-blowing and real. And then there's the switch. Tommy Hilfiger at the fashion show sold NFTs for 8 different things that were coming out in the spring. You can redeem the NFT for the real product. In the spring. So there was this drive you into the physical store by starting in the metaverse. Laurie, Estee Lauder did it. They gave out glows for your avatar that mimic a product that they're launching. So you could then redeem it for the real product. So you're seeing this mix-up, and I think it's going to be good for both physical retail and metaverse retail.
Yeah. And Sylvan, you can speak to that with the work that Perfect Corp's doing. Robin's just mentioned there about NFTs and actually the technology that you've developed to actually virtually try on these NFTs. Talk us through what that looks like for the beauty space.
Yes, so that's pretty interesting because that's a topic we never thought about maybe 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago. So up to now, our business was to offer virtual try-on to all the brands, luxury brands and mass brands, because as you said, I mean, it helps to boost the sales on the web. But the idea is to virtually try goods on your face to buy a real good. I mean, you try a color and you buy, you pay and you receive the lipstick, for example. But with the metaverse, now the brands are discovering that possibly it will be possible to sell something that does not exist. The virtual lipstick that you are trying on your face, some people might want to buy it for their avatar, for even themselves when they are having a video conference. They want to apply a Chanel or a Gucci lipstick on their face. And to sell, you need to prove that you bought it, so you need what you call NFT. And NFT is all about ensuring other people that the digital good that you are wearing is the real one. It's not something you designed by yourself in your kitchen, that's something you paid for. And that's the benefit of NFT. And this is really new, I mean, new at this level. And people try to think that they can pay to try. And we, as you said, we launched a platform, just a proof of concept, to show that we can generate virtual, you know, whatever you want. It's eyewear, makeup. You can pay for it, ensure that you have it, and possibly in the future resell it, because it's your own property.
Valerie, what are your thoughts on this blur between offline and online that Sylvan's just mentioned there? You know, perhaps virtually trying on something, but then buying a real life product. And that transition that we're perhaps going to see whereby consumers and shoppers buy something in the metaverse virtually.
I love the blurring of mixed worlds right now. Like, I'm really excited about it. I've been fortunate throughout my career to create connected experiences. So for me, loving it. And I think that it's going to be really important for, at Merkle, we talk about every moment's a shoppable moment, right? So it's really important that you have those touch points. So Sylvan, what you're talking about, those virtual try-ons, we want to have those moments not only in store, as you guys have done, but also in home and anywhere, for one. One of the things that we've done in terms of the NFTs that you were talking about, that we're exploring is we had it in the video there, our Shop Next products. So we call them retail innovations, bringing customers joy, but we also say it brings retailers joy too, because they're super easy to implement. One of those is our Scan and Know technology, and it integrates into a retailer's existing website, customer profile, and loyalty program. And because of that, so if you had a technology like Sylvan has incorporated into your website, and you had Scan and Know, you could go into the store, I could do my virtual try-on, I got my lipstick, I got my foundation, and then scan it, and boom, have it shipped to my door. Or, hey, I like this, Casey, I know this is your color and it's always out of stock, I'm gonna send that to you. So I think those are really memorable moments. The other thing is that upon delivery experience. So Jane, you were talking about with your data that you're seeing that sort of physical, digital, almost a redeemable moment. And so what we're seeing with our Shop Next suite, we have a product called Unbox It. And what that is Now, right now, we're currently working with retailers as a QR code, but there's no reason that it couldn't be an NFT, that you scan on the box, that you receive that physical product, you have your virtual experience that goes with it. So we're really excited about connecting that upon delivery experience, and especially, as you talked about, Jane, DTC, so important to connect that upon delivery experience, and if you can make it fun and something you can own beyond just the tube of lipstick, beyond the physical product, and you can mix and merge it. Like if I want that lipstick in Fortnite, then awesome. We want more of that.
Yeah, we call it direct to avatar now, not direct to consumer, but direct to avatar. You cut the consumer out of it.
Well, consumers and avatars merging. Also, we've talked a lot about the impact and the importance for consumers, that usability, the engagement, the excitement. What does this mean for brands? What does the metaverse and all of these technologies bring to the beauty brand? Robin, I don't know if you could speak to that.
Yeah, so I think, well, first of all, you have to understand, everybody understands a non-fungible token. So just to go back, a fungible thing is $1, wherever, or €1. Wherever I bring it, it has the same value. A non-fungible token is decided by a lot of things like coolness, scarcity. There's only 5 of these in the world. So when you look at things like the Bored Ape NFT, you think, why does anybody care? And there's a generation that believes this defines who they are, that this increases in value and decreases in value, that property in the metaverse, you can actually go in and buy a piece of land, get an architect, build a building. The banks are already in the metaverse. So for beauty brands, I think you can experiment on your avatar. You can also see the trade-off between physical stores and metaverse stores, and you can also get some diagnostic things done as well. We know Perfect Core is the perfect example of looking at not just what looks good on you, but what's your skin consistency like? Do you have pores? Do you have sebaceous glands? Do you have wrinkles? And how to keep track. And to keep track, and the next time I come into Perfect Core, it says, hey, Robin, last time you were here, you bought Passion Pink. Do you want that again? Because I never remember. So this idea of you are a person in reality and in the digital world that has a set of traits that you like. The interesting thing about the metaverse is you can change the traits all along. I mean, sometimes I'll go to a meeting dressed as myself. Sometimes I'll enhance my beauty. Sometimes I'll go as a unicorn. And it depends on the situation of where I'm going. And that is tremendously exciting. And I think brands will also iterate, experiment, and even create products in places. Val is working on one called Headroom. It's an enterprise metaverse where you meet as a group because you don't meet physically as much anymore, and you think differently. It's much more less of a hierarchy, more of a flat organization, people coming in and developing products.
Well, and to build on that, our partners, I'm actually an astronaut in our virtual showroom at the moment, so hey. And Robin's absolutely right. One of the things we've been really excited about is teaming up with Head Office Space, and what we've done with them is built this, it was actually in the video there, but what we've built with them is our virtual showroom for those Shop Next products that I mentioned. So we can we actually use it for learning for our internal teams, but also clients, partners that we can invite in. You become an astronaut and you can go through there and have an actual scan demo process. And what we've been able to do with a lot of brands is we're in early sort of pilots of creating test labs. So what it means to brands, instead of like back in the day, it was like, hey, let's make up some mock-ups and put them in the store and pay all that printing cost or any of that. Or another one is phantom social testing. So some brands, they would do this sort of phantom testing in social media, and somehow their competitors would come across it. So if they create a test lab where they can provide certain access to, they can pop it up, low investment, in a couple of hours, depending on what your assets are, and get some quick feedback. So we've gotten a lot of traction with that.
I think for new brands also, it's very interesting because we saw with the birth of the internet and Instagram that new brands actually got some longevity, because used to come, launch, they were like a pretty firework, they'd go up, come down, and everybody forgot about them. And then Instagram came along and they got followers and connections. And the metaverse, potentially, people could take them on a longer journey with their values and principles and community. And if they've got the right funding behind them, this could be really interesting for new brands. This could be something that could really accelerate them much further. So, and really build their community much quicker, and actually get people talking within the community about the brands and becoming possibly ambassadors within the metaverse. So it could be this extreme version of Instagram. That's what it could be, in accelerating. And I know there are some brands that think it's a load of rubbish, by the way, because I've talked to a few brands. But I remember the time at Mintel, because I've been Mintel for over 25 years, and that we were talking about the internet. And I went to see our forecaster and said, this internet thing, we need to be considering it in our forecasting. And he said, well, let me do two scenarios. One, if the internet doesn't really take off, and one, if it does. And that was maybe about 25 years ago. And it was laughable now, but maybe we'll be laughing about this in 5 years' time, that the metaverse, imagine that we thought it might not take off, this other world. But a lot of people are skeptical because Second Life kind of went up and came down, and they're thinking, well, should I invest in this? But in terms of getting your brand principles and everything you do on that journey through, it's such a nice way of doing it. And also localization. So if you can't afford as a brand to put a store in every single city in America, you can on the metaverse. And it can be somebody with a local accent in Dallas, if you so choose. And you could localize products there too. So the potential is endless, the creativity, but obviously it's down to funding a lot of the time. But if you're getting direct to avatar or direct to consumer purchasing, you've got that gross margin to do it. So it's going to change the way that we do business, I think, in the future.
And there are now digital-only fashion brands in particular. Vacante is a pretty famous one, where they design just for avatars, and they are commanding 9,000, 10,000 and up a dress for you to put on your avatar. And the other thing I think helps is supply chain. So if you look at Tommy Hilfiger, they put up their 8 fashion ideas. They have a good idea of what's going to sell in the store in the fall without the wastage and the reshipping and the returns and try-ons. They're not there yet, but Perfect Core is doing it really well with makeup, and fashion is getting there. I tried on a few things at Fashion Week in Decentraland, and it was kind of great to spin myself around, see what the fashion would look like. And I think the long tail of that is it will help companies plan their seasonal launches.
And wasn't that one of the original promises of the internet, that we thought we could do all that, and it never happened?
And just like for the audience, there were, if you think of the internet, think of it in 3 epochs. Epoch 1, the information came out at you. Wikipedia, you looked things up. Epoch 2 was the social media, the Facebooks, the Instagrams. It was much more interactive. Epoch 3, Web 3.0, much more immersive. You will totally submit to this digital world all around you. And I think that's what brands have to recognize, and then I think step back and say, what about my brand what's authentic and organic and feels natural. And we're talking Pringles is in the internet, Taco Bell's in the internet, Oreos, and they're all Carrefour's, Selfridges has a beautiful department store on the internet. And the idea is to really right now experiment and see what your customers are gravitating towards and really use them as part of your iterative process.
On that point, you know, the beauty industry is very diverse itself. We have very large mass market brands, we have prestige, we also have a huge indie beauty community. So when a beauty brand or manufacturer is thinking of experimenting, as you say, Robin, in the metaverse, how will that look different for a small indie brand versus a global mass brand? Jane, do you have any thoughts on commercially how that might differ?
I mean, traditionally, it was the prestige brands that were always very innovative. And then we've seen the mass brands really turn that on its head in terms of innovation. So I think that it doesn't matter where it comes from, really. I really think that brands, when we consider that 60% of people admit to spending most of their free time on digital devices, then that's a captured audience. And again, I think if the mass market product, you know, if there is a volume there, obviously within mass market, and then some of the higher ones, they're looking for more margin. It really depends how you execute it. And I think creativity is going to be a really big part of success on the metaverse, which you'll probably know a lot more about than I do. And it's really the way you tell them and the way that you bring people on that journey and how excited and engaged people are in your brand. We have also seen that people's attention span is much smaller. So we know that, you know, ads have gone down to sort of 6 seconds, and now if you don't get it in 1 second, you've kind of lost your audience. So again, maybe the metaverse, you would get a little bit more time to explore within that. You'll know more about that than I do, Robin. But again, that gives you another opening to get a new customer and perhaps get some more long-term value out of them.
But Casey brings up a really huge important point. And right now in time, whether we like to say it or not, the people that have the access to high-speed internet, to Oculus glasses or to Snap AR glasses tend to be Caucasian and wealthy and well-educated. And the question that we're going to face is, how do we bring the rest of the people along on this journey?
Yeah. And Robin, I'd like to jump in there too, building on what you and Jane mentioned, because we're seeing, to that point, we're seeing a high increase in the creator economy. It's due to grow 40% in the next couple of years. We're also seeing that with Gen Z, over 50+% right now are looking to start their own business. And we're not talking about just like, hey, a pop-up shop or something like that. We're talking about how roles are evolving. So that's things like digital, virtual goods. That's, you're going to start seeing roles pop up in terms of metaverse architect, people who are builders in the metaverse, who are creating these environments. And that's going to be set up by these sort of independent folks. And sort of on top of that, right now, what we know with Gen Z, between sort of 18 and 25, they're the highest players in Fortnite. So Jane, what you're talking about, those sort of beauty gamers, no surprise right now, right? So we're going to see the people who grew up gaming, right, who bought goods on mobile devices as they were growing up, right? You had to get your power-ups. Those are the same people who are creating the future and building that, what's now and next, basically, in the metaverse.
Yeah, and you do have to be prepared to feel really stupid in the metaverse. I mean, truly, most of them use gaming keys, like old gamers, like WASD, to navigate these worlds. You are walking into walls, you're walking through other people. I actually play with one of my grandsons, and I keep saying, "Oh, isn't that sweet? Those gorillas love me." He said, "They don't love you. They're trying to kill you." You know, I mean, I said, "Oh, I thought they were hugging me." So there's like this learning curve, but you know, my advice to businesses, which I do a lot, is don't run to the metaverse and don't bank your whole business fortune on it, but set aside a skunkworks project that feels right for your brand and get involved. And really, there are two ways to do it. You can buy a piece of property in a place like Decentraland. You can create your own metaverse using a gaming engine like Unreal, or you can just try something with NFTs using sites like Rarible and OpenSea and test the waters for what you're selling. And these are tests, but you've got to be doing them.
Yeah.
And
Like your test.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Sylvan, you know, your work, you partner with various brands worldwide. So how does innovation with, for example, virtual try-ons or other activities in the metaverse differ for these big mass brands versus the little players?
I agree with Jane. I would say that the rather luxury or the high-level brands are, you know, obliged to react first, because what's going to happen is critical to them. If they cannot find their place in the new world, they might lose everything. I mean, and look at it this way: in the metaverse, imagine that you can create looks or makeups, colors that does not exist in real. For example, you know, with shimmering colors, changing colors, something totally crazy. How will those brands will deal with that? You know, will they stick to what is doable physically, or will they try to do something creative? So it's a lot of questions arriving now. And what we are doing, we try to give an easy way for those brands to try the metaverse, try the virtual try-ons, possibly with crazy SKUs, just to, you know, get the first perception.
Do you think that personalization, which is a huge trend for a long time now in beauty, will that be key here?
Certainly. I mean, personalization, gamification, phygital, all those words are present when we're talking about metaverse and NFT. So, you know, the brands are facing all those questions all together, and they have to, I think we cannot think in advance. Nobody will know exactly what's going to happen in few years. So it's a learning curve. I mean, we have to help brands to start, and each brand, especially the prestige and luxury, they need to respect their own DNA, which is critical. So they can do crazy things, but with respect to their DNA. So it takes time. I would say that everything is ready to start. It's a bit scary, I would say, for some brands, but it's also super exciting.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about, you know, all the possibilities that the metaverse offers brands, and as beauty brands and manufacturers, we also as an industry have a responsibility to our consumers. Now, if we talk about the digital space and time on digital devices, there's a question here that we can't avoid, and that's, you know, wellness and mental health and digital fatigue. So as this metaverse space evolves and there's more activity in the beauty world, how can brands and should brands be held accountable for that mental well-being and digital wellness? Jane?
Well,
I think your mic's not quite...
Yeah, beauty as an industry has been probably one of the most mindful industries in terms of, I would say, health and wellness. And if we do consider that, you know, 40% of Americans have never heard of the metaverse, from one of our surveys, and they soon will. I mean, more people may engage with it, and beauty gamers may spend longer on it. But I think brands are quite mindful now and are asking people to spend time outside, to be healthy in terms of their time online and to engage with each other. So I think that most brands, are mindful of that, and I think the health and wellness side of things, when people explore health and wellness, perhaps through the metaverse, and look at diagnostics on their skin, etc., there may be brands would be sensible to talk about time out now, spending time outside, getting vitamin D through your eyes, and all these little tips that people are, because most brands aren't really about flogging stuff anymore. They're very much about lifestyle, bringing people into a lifestyle that is healthy, both for mind and body.
And one thing, I don't know for any of you who attended the previous sessions today that came up when the metaverse was discussed, was the beauty of it actually bringing global audiences together in a very even way. And could we envision a future perhaps where beauty does good on a social level within this metaverse because of that?
So I'm really excited about that question. A couple of things to add. Jane, what you were talking about in terms of brands being mindful about mindfulness and wellness, and we were talking about that creator economy. Niantic, the creators of Pokemon Go, they have their platform called Lightship that really empowers any companies to create that experience. So it could be where you go to a stop and you have your virtual try-on, or hey, maybe it's sunny outside, and it gives you a tip, and really getting people out and moving. So I'm excited about that. From a diversity and inclusion standpoint, I think that with the metaverse, you can, as Robin said, she was a unicorn, and then she was herself. So it really empowers people to take down the barriers. If they want to truly be represented and have their self out there, they can. If they want to be something else, they can. And so I think we're going to level the playing field. And then sort of lastly, what you were saying about community and that global connection, I mean, 100,000% there. One of the things we're doing with one of our test labs is addressing that exact challenge. A company, they're trying to get more creators and more inventors involved, and so we're doing a test to help make that happen, because they don't want to just recruit people in the U.S. They want people from a small village in Brazil to somewhere in Africa to really empower these people to get their ideas to a global brand.
Yeah, and there really is again, these philosophies to think about that are very contentious in metaverse conversations. Niantic does not believe you should sit at your screen in the metaverse. They think you should go out right now with your mobile device, but eventually with glasses, and augment reality, that the world is layered on top. So you're at the Empire State Building and you want to find out more about it, or you want to find your Pokemon and you're walking and you're exercising. Mark Zuckerberg, on the other hand, believes everybody should sit 24 hours a day for the rest of their life wearing Oculus glasses. I hope he's not here. But, and that you should just sit with headsets on, and that's how you'll experience. And then there's this mid-road, which I call the pragmatic metaverse, where you will be able to access from any device, mobile, computer, tablet. It will be much more equal, but your experience will differ depending on what device you have. And those are kind of the three things you're seeing at play right now. And brands will have to be strategic on where they want to play across those spaces.
Well, and it's a good point, Robin. A lot of what we're seeing too is like, hey, the metaverse, does that mean VR? We don't want people in VR all day. I'm like, no,
Right.
It's not. First of all, it's not just VR. We don't think people should be in VR all day either. And so what we've been able to do is really help educate brands too. Again, another client we're working with, they want to see 3D models in their test lab. So we're able to do that, and they can do it, as Robin mentioned, from their laptop, from their mobile device, they can actually put it in a Google VR headset if they wanted to, or chime in their Oculus to look at that 3D model. Then they can take their goggles off or continue to sort of carry on, you know, in their laptop experience. And so we really help people say you don't have to be in VR, you don't have to be in AR. What you have to do is create the right experience for your customer, right, and for your brand. That's what we sort of...
I think these are some of the barriers as well. And, you know, also buying cryptocurrency, it's not easy. I tried it in January as well. It's not easy. It's a bit scary as well. Start with a small amount in case you lose it completely. But we're, in the West, we're quite far behind because in China, a third of consumers are actually, well, are claiming to be using cryptocurrency. So we're quite behind in that respect. I don't know how many people have actually bought, I don't know if you asked that at the beginning, how many people have bought a cryptocurrency in this room?
All right.
So a few, maybe 10, 20%. Yeah, so we're a little bit behind China. So this is some of the things we need to adopt. And if we think about an 85-year-old going through an airport with a QR code, that might not have happened before COVID. And they've been, they want to go on holiday, they're incentivized to go and see their family, so they've got the QR code, they've downloaded it. And so, we need to, as an industry, as a beauty industry, look at some of the incentives we can do, maybe through offers, getting people on the metaverse, or getting people to take these first steps, because otherwise we're going to have a load of consumers who are just thinking, well, I don't know how to do that. So there needs to be an incentive.
Yeah. And you're right. I think each brand has picked their path. Carrefour did something about nutrition in the metaverse, and it was a way to shop and learn about healthy foods. Nike has bought a whole metaverse company just to do digital sneakers. Most of the brands that are doing things, I would say, are partnering with specialists, so they're bringing their brand, but they're picking their partners who have the technical expertise. So you really need that blend, and I think that's like a wise idea.
Yeah, that was my question. The depth and complexity of some of these platforms and software are perhaps way outside the typical expertise of a beauty brand. So will collaboration be absolutely critical moving forward? Sylvain?
Yeah, I think collaboration has always been crucial, and it will remain crucial. I mean, we are providing some bricks, so as some services that you can, input in your own website or together with a third party like Instagram or Facebook. So you need collaboration. I mean, what we could see in the coming years, it's kind of a unification, because it's not the case yet. And unification needs collaboration, so I think we'll be there. Yeah, definitely.
And I'd just like to add to that, I mean, again, completely agree. Like, that's where big companies are small, focusing on your superpowers, that's how you're going to accelerate innovation at all. And one of the things we've been doing, we actually have a product called Next Intelligence, and it's a suite of different sort of exercises for brands. They're like sort of 2 to 3 week long engagements. One of them is innovation scouting. And so what we do is we work with a brand, around a particular brief, and basically do exactly that. We scout the globe. Most recently we did one, we scouted over 500 plus companies based on the brief, distilled that down to about 34, and distilled that down, and we're actually doing a number of pilots and test and learns. Because Robin, like you're saying, I wave the experimentation banner for all of these brands. Like, just do a test and learn without making that big investment, having the right partners. So one of the things, when we have the innovation scouting sort of results, we'll work with the brand and say, let's have we'll have a fit session and see, like, okay, does this make sense for this particular product to do a test, or this one? And then from there, then we work with them to shape that pilot.
No, and we always like to say, find the gamer in your organization who just, it's amazing the talent that is coming out into this new world. You know, it's sort of like when desktop publishing started. It became like the person who was doing the copier all those years, you know, became the desktop publisher. I think what you're seeing now is a generation of people who have grown up playing games. They understand game mechanics, which are integral to all of this, and they're just have great ideas. So look within your organizations and do a skunkworks project, you know, like this amount of my time will be put towards looking to what we can do in the metaverse to strengthen our brand.
And one thing to add there, Robin, for brands who are doing that we really advise is, hey, when you are doing that skunkworks project, when you are doing that test and learn, really get alignment up front on what those KPIs are. Because just because you set up a little room or you do a tiny NFT project, that doesn't mean like the money's going to flow out of the sky, right? You're going to have all these products flying off the shelf. It's like, whoa. Part of it might be, is this something we want to further invest in? You know, like really aligning what those KPIs are up front.
I think another important point to bring here as well, as brands perhaps experiment, as you've mentioned there, is sustainability. How can they do that in a green and sustainable way? Because whilst all of this is digital and virtual, there are still footprints at play, environmental impact. So could you give any advice on how to enter the metaverse in a sustainable way?
So it really turns out to be a double-edged sword. I mean, on the pro side, you're not building physical things. You're experimenting in the digital world, which is less expensive, less impact on the environment, all good. On the negative side, to put something on the blockchain, and I wish I had the numbers, but I just flew in and my brain's dead. You could like power Norway for a day on what it costs to do a blockchain operation. And to do a dollar purchase on a blockchain might not make sense because it's so expensive. It involves so many servers. There is no central server. There's no Amazon web server. Every transaction on the blockchain is distributed to everybody. Minting things on the blockchain, in particular Bitcoin, is a huge energy consumptive. And there are new forms of cryptocurrency that theoretically will take less energy. It gets very geeky about proof of stake versus proof of work and trying to be more energy efficient. You have to believe it will get solved because it's in their interest to solve it. You have to also believe that, look at the next coming year, Fidelity's opening up a crypto accounts for you. JP Morgan has a metaverse set up. So all of the major banking really want to see this happen also. So it's a real pro-con. You can save so much energy the same way we do now. You see less paper at events like this. So there's a million ways to save energy by doing things virtually, not traveling there, etc. But there's also a real footprint, and there are digital calculators out there that will actually measure the footprint of some of the things. There's a company called Celery that puts out a free calculator just so you are aware when you do digital transactions what the cost to the environment really is.
Some good food for thought there. I'd like to open up questions to the floor. If anybody has a question for one of our expert panelists, now's the time. I don't know if anybody's got a question. Yeah, gentleman over there. The microphone's just there.
Thank you very much for the speaking. It was really interesting. And personally, I do work with NFT. I do build Metaverse and so on. So I know what you are thinking and saying. The question that I have that I get asked a lot also from my clients is, what about ethical and regulation? I know it seems a little hidden word, but regulation, as we've seen from Hermes, now the NFT that's been sold by just an artist. I mean, how do you see this from the coming years?
Are you talking about buying physical goods?
No, no, digital. Just
Digital
NFTs, you know,
goods.
all of these wearables and digital assets, you know,
Yeah.
into the metaverse. We're going to have.
So the quick answer is the lawyers are going to be really well compensated in
Yeah.
this metaverse world.
Actually, yeah,
right.
you're absolutely right, because Gabriel, that's just sitting in front of you, is telling me that a lawyer's working on that, and his salary went from 45,000 to whatever it was, 175,000 in the last year. So if anybody's a lawyer and wants to go back into law, seems like a good place to be.
So just from history, what do we know? Regulators are always behind. You know, they come in afterwards. So, and what are they going to regulate? So Nike's embroiled now. You know, I bought these sneakers made by RFTK or whatever the name of the company is, like, and then I sell them. But do I have the right to turn them into a movie? Do I have a right to turn them into a song because I bought an NFT of an ape? Can I start a restaurant? There's a restaurant in New York City now called the Bored Ape Restaurant. There's one in California also, based on this NFT that was artwork. So we have yet to figure out how intellectual property will work. And if you buy an NFT in one form, let's say a dress or a piece of makeup, can I build, like, are you going to freak out if I build Perfect Court the movie? I think you will. And that's why I say the lawyers are going to have a great time.
I think also a few people winning legal cases will probably shape the future of that. People suing each other and what actually becomes right. But in terms of regulation of physical goods, I can't see that changing that much.
Like in terms of regulation of the metaverse, as we know, there is no person. There is like anyone who's in the board, basically anyone, can propose a law. Tomorrow can say, okay, this thing is going to shut down. And you invest loads of money into that. And someone just because woke up with a majority of their board of the central and on the sandbox can close down and you're done. So
I think that perhaps comes back to the points raised here about entering the metaverse tentatively in some ways and cautiously in thinking about all of the consumer protection aspects that were mentioned. I mean, Perfect Corp is edging into that space. What is your setup on a regulation standpoint when you're developing these new ideas and concepts?
Well, we ensure that what we offer, we have the property right to put it on the market. But what we do not control is the next step. You know, what people are going to do with that. I mean, if they can start to trade, so what's next? I mean, we totally lose the control of what's going to happen. So, of course, there will be some question at some point. We even don't know yet what are going to be the issue we are going to face. So we will have to adapt and learn.
But if you go, you should visit the Perfect Core site because it's about scarcity. There are only X number of these items that they've created, and that really does create desire. It is, what is interesting is, yes, what will happen next as people decide to, I'm going to build a house of NFTs, I'm going to open a restaurant. Licensing is all over this. So the toy industry, I happen to work a lot in that industry. You can order a Mattel car as an NFT. They have a trading card program that's based on NFTs, but you can also personalize your Mattel Hot Wheels and get that delivered to you as a real product. With your certificate, you can get proof of attendance. So at South by Southwest, which I just came from, the NFT drops were actually showing you were just there, and that was worth something, and it was worth a free prize at the end. So NFTs, to be clear, they're digital assets, but it's just what you code into them, and people are coding in everything from I'm going to have VIP seating at the ball game to I'm going to have some other sort of special experience. I can go to the spa. So this is all wide open, uncharted territory. It's only digital code, and the code can say whatever you want it to say. So again, your brand should be thinking about what is the right strategy for your NFT. Should it be an experience? Should it be come to my store and I'll give you a pedicure? Should it be in my VIP loyalty club? The world is like so wide open to the potential of all this, and right now with very little law protections, you know.
Well, and one thing I wanted to jump in there, Robin, and to your question was, if you think about it, like it has been a controversial topic, right? Like the people who invest in insert name, right? Whether it be Sandbox, whether it be Decentraland, whether, you know, insert name. To your concern, it's like, hey, we bought land, we built this stuff, they shut it down, what do we do? And it is a tricky thing. I think that the way, at least the way I think about it, it's kind of like when apps came out, right? And you'd buy a game, or at least I did, loads of games. But you buy an app, you download the app, you buy a bunch of power-ups, right? You invest in this game, you play this game, you buy power-ups, etc. The game's no longer available. I feel like it's that same mindset when we think about investing in land. I do think, to Robin's point, where the value is those drops. It is that sort of, I think NFT meets experience is really an area to watch. Also at South by Southwest, there's a company called Doodles. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Yeah. Doodles, they had an awesome experience at South by Southwest where you got an NFT and you'd go around and sort of get physical products, and it's NFT meets experiential. And I think that's where you're gonna, you know, get consumer joy and happiness, but instant reward, and then help, you know, alleviate that sort of longer term platform fear.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap things up because we're out of time. But before we all leave, I'd like to do a quick fire question to finish off the panel and find out what each of you are most excited about in the metaverse. Valerie, should we start with you? What are you most excited about, very quickly?
Oh, gosh. Well, I am excited about the sort of NFT meets experiential. I'm excited about getting more brands experimenting. I really want to see more brands, less fear factor, more experimenting, excuse me. Yeah, those are my two big points. Experiment is number one, NFT experiential number two.
Sylvan?
Well, yes. What is crazy and exciting to us is that until 2021, we thought that the virtual try-on tools that we had were there to stay and stable. And in few months, we discovered that no, another door is opening. The metaverse is opening to our customers, to our brands. And this is amazing. This is a lot of expectation, a lot of concerns as well. But this is very exciting, and I think that's what we enjoy the most.
Robin?
Yeah, having seen this rodeo a few times before, I'm going to date myself. I am most excited that perhaps, in my most positive thinking, this will be a more decentralized solution, that we will actually not be the commodity that Facebook and that everybody is looking as our eyeballs are the product, to where we're actually, to go back to Val's creator economy, where we are actually creating value and being compensated for that value and being able to be owners. You don't have to be a millionaire, or you don't have to play the stock market. You can start small and investing in really real things. So I'm very hopeful that the best of humanity will come out in this. Of course, there's always that dark side, but I'm hoping we play this right. I think we will.
Jane, what are you most excited about?
Well, really, I'm excited for brands, because I think that this will provide a much deeper and more meaningful relationship with the consumer. And, you know, that can only be good, can't it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for all your insights. I hope that's given you a better sense on the potential on how the metaverse may evolve. Good luck if you're entering the space, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.